moon.
Hello there, this is Jack from That's No Moon. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I would like to run Jyn Erso in Rebels. This isn't designed to be a competitive build by any stretch. This is just so that you can have some fun with your Rebel heroes. So this has come off the back of episode 32 of the podcast that we recorded, where we've discussed that Rebel heroes probably need a bit more hand-holding and a bit more synergy between them to play into the fact that they are a hero-heavy faction. So I'm going to take Jyn as my base. We're going to do 3 lists, and we're going to discuss how we might like to run her in a thematic list, in one that's less thematic but might have a bit more hand-holding, and then another one just for fun. So the first one we'll go for is Cassian and K2. Obvious reasons, they're all in the same film, so we'll lean into that theme. So really, in this list, we're looking at 3 infiltrators that can get up the board and grab the objective. So we're not really focusing on Jyn as a whole. So if we arm all of these with their 3 weapons, and we'll add the blaster to K2 for 5 points, we've already got a pretty decent run and gun trio there. In this, I would put duck and cover over situational awareness or any other defensive tech, purely because you're going to be in the firefight quite quickly, and having that extra defense on duck and cover to trigger your danger sense is going to help you quite a bit. So duck and cover reads, while defending against a ranged attack, during the applied dodge and cover step you may gain 1 suppression token. So you do this as you're spending your dodges and taking cover, so you'll gain, if you're in the open, you'll gain the suppression, and then that gives you light cover. That then leads into your danger sense, which is while defending against a ranged attack, roll 1 extra defense die for each suppression token you have, adding up to 4 extra dice. So while she's taking fire, same with Cassian, he's danger sense 3, she could be rolling up to 4 extra. Now that does mean she is suppressed at that point. So if we're leaning into that, we're then going to add an emergency transponder to K2. Now the reason we do that is because these, on their 1s and their 2 pips, you're going to be issuing Jyn and Cassian. The reason you do that is because you're then giving, on Jyn's 2 pip, which is Trust Goes Both Ways, Jyn Erso gains Inspire 2. When Jyn Erso issues an order to another friendly trooper unit, that unit gains Teamwork Jyn Erso. Cassian already has Teamwork K2, or other way around rather, K2 has Teamwork Cassian. So that means all 3 gain Teamwork. So when Jyn Quick Thinking gains an aim and a dodge, Cassian will do the same, K2 will do the same, giving them that defensive and offensive token from 1 action. Similarly, we've got Last Stand from Cassian. So when Cassian and/or issues an order to a commander or operative unit, that unit gains Indomitable and gains 1 aim, dodge or suppression token for each wound token that unit has, up to 3. These are white dice heroes, they're going to have wounds on them, so this is a great card for that. So you pop that, you give it to Cassian, he gains a load of dodge tokens, passes them to K2, issues to Jyn, she also gains a load of dodge tokens. She's nimble, she's keeping at least 1 of them. And that's pretty much how we build those 3 heroes. You run them light, 92 points each, it's a bargain at that point. You're sort of accepting they're going to die, and that's the basis. From there you can add in some Pathfinders if you want to really lean into the infiltrate and be really aggressive. It's not the best way to play them because you're putting yourself very close to things that have big dice balls, Arc Troopers, Black Suns for example. They're going to be out shooting you at range 2 and you're putting yourself at range 3 potentially even closer if you're infiltrating before they're deploying. They can easily counter-deploy and infiltrate. If you're also looking at that way of playing, you may also want to look at a sort of a Dave Grant approach. Add a bus in, and then put a Jedi into that bus. So you're then taking a pure hero hammer of 2 commander, 2 operatives. It's Jedi of your choice between Luke and Ahsoka. Perhaps Ahsoka would be better because she's not as command card hungry, and she can pack a punch. So if we put Ahsoka in there and we build her as a standard of burst of speed, force push into the fray and seize the initiative. That's bringing you out of 5 activations at 532. Now the bus is just going to want a backward medic, and to be extra annoying, we'll put a gonk droid on it. So now you've got about 440 points to play with. So this list needs its core. We'll take 3 rebel troopers, and from there we can lean into a bit more of a range poke. We can take the DLTs, take the rebel captains, and take situational awareness. That's not optimal because we don't have vigilance in the list. However, if they are dodging and shooting and just being a nuisance at the back, that is one way to play this list. You are low on activations, you're 8 activations at this point, so although it's going to be fun to get your characters out and throw them up the board, they're not going to last too long. So that would be a fun thematic list. Obviously Ahsoka wasn't in Rogue One, so you might not want to run that. That gives you an extra 199 points to play with. So if that was less of your fancy, you could then take Vigilance on Jyn. She's now supporting the Rebel Troopers. You could take 4 squads of them to make it a nice even number, and you've still got 108 points to play with. So you could take, let's take a unit of Pathfinders, pop a weapon on, we'll go for Bistan, so we've got some impact, and we'll give him duck and cover and the config. And we've still got some points to play with there, so we could always add a couple more upgrades to Cassian. We could always add something to the Pathfinders to make them more aggressive, or we could add a weapon to the speeder truck, just so that there is some other firepower in the list. Again, only 9 activations. There's not really a melee answer in here, but it should be fun. So moving on to how I like to run Jyn personally. I like to make her the focus of the list, and I usually pair her with Ahsoka. So we'll go through how we build them, and then why I take Ahsoka. So Jyn, more often than not, will take Vigilance. This really pairs well with her Nimble, so every time she's got a dodge on her, and she spends that during an attack, she'll then gain another dodge token. That will play into more things later down the line when we discuss command cards. For her training, situational awareness, this is mostly so that on her way in, if she's taking shots from mortars or from echo, anything that's not high velocity and has a low dice pool count and wants to plink through a crit, she can dodge it, get rid of it, no bother. Because she struggles with her action economy, you'd not often wanting to sit quick thinking and do a single move. You are more often than not want to double move into position and then move, shoot, move across 2 turns. So I like to give her prepared supplies. Now this just means that she starts the game with a dodge token. Gives you cash dodge 1. That leans into her nimble. So when she is attacked, she'll spend that dodge, and nimble will allow her to gain a dodge. Vigilance then triggers, she could be selfish and keep that dodge on her for the next turn. So Jyn always has a dodge on her. We give her the free weapon because if we don't need to commit her to being up close, it's better to sit her at range 3 and use her as a crit fisher to just plink damage through. With Pierce 1 and Sharpshooter 1, she can quite often score that crit. Ahsoka, she gets a very standard build of burst of speed that we've seen before, force push, seize the initiative, and into the fray. So the reason we build Ahsoka like that is burst of speed is because on her one pip turn, if she's at range, she can just run in to cut something up, force push someone in. Seize the initiative is reserved purely for Jyn's 1 pip. So Jyn will play the 1 pip, she'll get the order, Ahsoka will then also order herself, essentially giving Ahsoka 2 1 pips. Because she has an order, you may or may not have priority depending on what your opponent plays, and so she's ready to go as your first activation. We give her into the fray because her deflect doesn't work in melee, so she needs those surge tokens. Once she's embedded, she's going to be stacking them up ready for her defense. So then looking at command cards, we have all of Jyn's I Am No Jedi, Swift Protector, and A New Beginning. So, talking these through, Rebellious. The reason I take Rebellious is it not only gives Jyn charge, which is nice, but it also means that she has that extra mobility. So, once per round, when an enemy unit at range 1 to 2 and in line of sight of Jyn Erso activates, before it performs its rally step, Jyn Erso may gain 1 suppression token to either perform an attack against that unit or to perform a free move action. That free move action is completely underrated. If you've got a box and you're being chased down, before they even perform their rally step, you are getting that free move. Now that can either get you out of line of sight, it can get you out of range, it can get you just into heavy cover. So don't underestimate that free move to be defensive. Similarly, don't underestimate it to be aggressive and tie something up before it gets to shoot. If you can run in, you get the free charge, which is nice, and it puts a suppression on them before their rally step, but you're also tying them up, and you can then stop your guys behind you getting shot. The free range, you may also get the free range attack, which can be used to just finish something off. So if someone's really desperate to get their, I don't know, an R2D2 or a Captain Rex, something that's on a last wound, you can pierce it. It's not as effective against Jedi because they have got immune to pierce and they've got deflect, but those characters that don't have immune pierce, they are susceptible to being pinged off by Jyn. If they activate before they rally, I'm gaining a suppression, so I'm now building up my danger sense. I'm then attacking you, putting a suppression on, and potentially putting a wound through, which may or may not kill you, giving me a double activation if I've already activated. That, I think, is underrated. That's also the turn where you're giving Ahsoka an order, so you can then choose if you want to go with Jyn or hold her off, and go with Ahsoka, or vice versa. Trust goes both ways for Jyn as well. So Jyn and 1 trooper is ordered, she gains Inspire 2, and then the trooper that she issues the order to gains Teamwork Jyn Erso. Now, you will always put this on Ahsoka, because Ahsoka has Defend 1. When she's issued an order, she gains a dodge token. That then triggers Teamwork and gives Jyn a dodge token. So Jyn goes into the first activation of that round with 2 dodge tokens on her, sat in heavy cover with the ability to cancel crits. So she's cancelling 4 results on that initial attack. She'll gain 1 of them dodge tokens back, so on the next one she's then cancelling 3. So this card keeps her a bit more defensive on the way in. Complete the mission. This is more for keeping Jyn alive at the end of the game. Jyn will gain low profile. She'll then be in heavy cover with her dodge. She's cancelling 4 hits. Low profile, as we've seen with Ewoks, Han, can't be underestimated. It does help. There is also the added bonus of whoever she issues the order to, they cannot be suppressed or panicked during their activation. This card has gone down in value with the changes to how panic works outside of your activation at the end of the rounds, because this only works during your activation. but it does also allow you to remove a suppression token at the end of your activation. So you go through your rally step as normal. Say you have a Courage 2 unit that has 5 suppression on it, you roll 1 off, you then get them out of line of sight, and at the end of their activation you remove 1, they're on 3, they're no longer panicked for the end of the round. So that's why that one comes in. It also just issues 3 troopers, which is nice to get an order onto Jyn and onto Ahsoka, and then one other, probably a veteran, that would then coordinate. So leaning into the synergy between Jyn and Ahsoka, we'll start with A New Beginning. So A New Beginning, I usually play early in the game, not necessarily for the recover on Ahsoka. I use it more for the gaining an aim or a dodge. So you issue to Jyn if she's going to be aggressive. You can either give her an aim or a dodge, depending on if she's just going to run up the board. You give her a dodge, which gives her 2 dodges with her prepared supplies, and then she can just get embedded somewhere and wait for the later game. You can also just give her an aim if she's going to get a cheeky range 3 shot on something quite early on, and she needs that added offense. Swift Protector is the card I usually play around with. This card is underrated with Jyn. So when we talk about what I've got in my battle deck, Recover the Supplies is a no-brainer. If you can manipulate how you're setting up so that Jyn goes down as close to the centre as possible, out of line of sight, and Ahsoka can get into range 1 of her, she is then getting a dodge token every single attack. She will then be going to all of her attacks with a minimum of 2 dodge tokens because of her prepared supplies and nimble. If that attack misses, she's then keeping them 2 dodges. The next attack comes in, she gets another one, so she's on 3. So at this point you're looking to set Jyn up so that she's ready to jump on the box, and she's only taking small arms fire. She doesn't want to be taking a Black Sun shot. She doesn't want to be taking a Clone Fire Sport. But if she can take those extra little ones and then get the box, and then play Trust Goes Both Ways on the next turn, that's 2/2 pips. She might not activate first, but she's got the defend one, so she's then double dodged again. She can take another hit and then run. And that's how I would play around with that card. I Am No Jedi is just great if you want to tie something up and hit it really hard. So for the battle deck, you're definitely looking at recover the supplies, as we said. If you can't infiltrate Jyn because you're up against a really aggressive list that's going to be in your face, Wookiees, Black Suns, clones that are deploying very close to you, you don't want to infiltrate. You're going to lose Jyn before you even get a chance to look at that box. So you want to be deploying a bit more conservatively and approach as a pair. Use Ahsoka to manipulate people as they're trying to get onto the box, and then let Jyn grab it, run. So that's playing by table and by opponent. We'll also go for key positions because we've got a Jedi. That much is a no-brainer. We'll also go for... Let's go for Sabotage. So the reason I'm going for Sabotage, it's not a popular one at the moment. However, because you're 800 points, if you lean into that 2-pip, you can deploy your VAPs. So I'm speaking from experience here. I had a game against Clone Ball where I deployed very passively against my back edge, and then had my VAPs there, tapped them both, and then retreated. And anything that came close, you send Ahsoka in, slice it up, and then she pulls back. And it's doing that keeps you ahead on the kill points. It's risky because you're white dice. If those dice don't go your way, you're up a creek, and you really got to then try and pull the kill points back. If you're going to lean into that style of play, you'll be wanting to take things like snipers. You'll be wanting to take veterans, anything with a range 4 on it. Brilliant. That's how we want to play it. You'll struggle against experimental droids, so this would be the one you want to avoid if you're coming up against that, because they will outshoot you at range 5, and you will have to then chase them down. So avoid sabotage on that. We'll also take intercept. So I'm taking intercept because I've got the ability to jump in. I'm going to get hit hard when I'm going for that middle, but then I can jump back, be a bit more defensive with the rebel heroes, and then jump back in. We've also got force push in the list, so we can jump in, force push someone off the scoring, and then hopefully we win it. So looking at deployment, advanced positions is great, especially if you're looking at going for the middle box and you need to get Ahsoka up quick to protect Jyn. She can scout out, move, dodge, and then she's ready to go with the Swift Protector. Major offensive is great, especially for the sabotage play. Same with the advanced positions. If you just place them along your short edge, you've then got a very short window for things to come at you. So in that vein, we'll then take... What do we take? Let's take Hemmed In. So we'll take Hemmed In again for the middle box play. Ahsoka will be close to Jyn, and then your supporting units behind will also be ready. You've got to accept you're going to lose most of your army, but at the end of the day you've got 3 boxes to their 2, so you win. Bounty hunters make that a bit more murky, but we'll get there. You'll have to play intercept against bounty hunters so that you've got a higher scoring capability. And then I think we go for Long March. Now that might be a bit of a controversial one because it puts things further away, but it also means that things are further away from you. If you want to infiltrate Jyn, you can't touch that box, so you're going to be further back. You're probably going to want to put her out of line of sight so she's not shot off by high velocity. Things are going to take a bit longer to get to you, provided they're not in a bus or they're not speeders or anything like that. If you're playing a gun line and you're out of line of sight, they've got to do a lot of moving to get you. In which time, Ahsoka's double moved up, she's doing Swift Protector for any stray shots. You could also pop Swift Protector on the second turn if you really need the defensive tech later in the game. So that's why I've got Long March in, because that pairs nicely with Recover. And then conditions don't really matter. So Fortified for Rebels. We will take... It depends what you're taking with it. I ran a list where I paired Ewok Slingers with Jyn. So I went Rapid Reinforcements to put them in the back lines. Limviz, it doesn't lean into the range 4 gun line that you'll have backing them up. However, if you get Limviz, a good deployment, and Recover, the stars align, you grab the box and you're out of there. And then Hostile Environment, just because you're trying to make things difficult for your opponent. The rebels are hiding behind terrain most of the time, so they're going to be touching it, is my theory. So that's really the combo that I think is worthwhile to run with Jyn, to have fun and to have a bit of a competitive edge. It's an uphill struggle, absolutely. However, I think this is the way that Jyn is supported enough that she can become a worthwhile character in your list. You are spending 305 points on this, so you are limited to 495, which you can get to about 10 activations in with medics. So the list I have ran and would probably still run is 2 veterans with 2 Mark IIs. You give them the range 4 gun, 2 medical droids. In this one we do have to swap vigilance, so you have to be a bit more thoughtful about what cards you're going to play, because we need underworld connections. And the reason we need underworld connections is because we're taking 2 Ewok slingers. And then we're also going to take 2 units of pikes. And we're going to give them the capo and the rifle. And that gets you 800 points. So that's where I sat with the list. You've got range 4 poke with the veterans and the pikes. You've got survivability through your dodge tokens with the pikes, Ahsoka and Jyn. You've also got low profile on the Ewok slingers and Jyn for 1 turn. So that was how I was playing around with that archetype. Similar to the Cassian and K2 build, we can also lean into a Han and Chewie version. Now, Han is in a sticky place at the moment where he's great in a Bright Tree Village, not so great outside of it. And the main reason is the upgrades he favours have gone up in price that make him good for the rebels as a whole. So up close and personal, performing an attack at range 1 to 2 and gaining a dodge token worked perfectly with his gunslinger. This used to be a very cheap upgrade. It's now 8 points. He also liked vigilance to keep hold of one of those dodges. So now you're spending 120 points on Han, which is steep. Combo that with how you'd want to build Jyn, with prepared supplies, situational awareness and the rifle. Ignoring the command for a moment because we don't know what the rest of the list is, let's assume we're going to play into the vigilance. So we're at 321. We've now spent more on this than we have on the Ahsoka. We've got 1 more activation out of it, but we haven't really got a melee answer. And we haven't got force push, we haven't got the utility of the cards. You could pop Protector on Chewie. He is quite happily to run naked though. So looking at the command cards for this one, Sorry About the Mess is a no-brainer. Change of Plans is a no-brainer. Trust Goes Both Ways, another no-brainer. You issue to Han, Han then feeds the tokens to Chewie. You've got that trio there. If Han is getting his gunslinger off and he's at range of Jyn and Chewie, you're getting 2 dodges on them. You do ramp up the dodge tokens quite quickly. However, it's still 320 points for this combo. So you're hoping that you're able to do enough with Han to warrant that 120 points. Reckless Diversion as well can be nice. I wouldn't recommend putting it on to Jyn. Jyn doesn't like taking big dice pools. So if you're going to run this, maybe think about putting some Ewoks in there. Again, tap into that Bright Tree Village and do the Reckless Diversion on him and the Ewoks so that you're triggering low profile. You've then got Chewie there to back you up with Guardian. And that's pretty much it. I would then go for Rebellious and we'll go for Complete the Mission because Han may well be suppressed and needs to get that double action. And that's how I run a Jyn Erso hero list for Rebels. I hope that's been helpful. I've been Jack for That's No Moon. Thanks for watching.
That's no moon.